So I'll just start with some reminders first, just to warm us up. It's been a while
Okay.
since we did a community. Not really a while, but then yeah, we did it last July. So just want to remind people what is a community call, right? So okay, let's start then. Yeah, welcome to this month's community call. So I'm seeing new names. I believe we have some new people. Is there anyone here who's attending the community call for the first time? Yes. Oh, Pablo is here. Hey, hey, hello, hello. Right. So yeah, so if we haven't seen each other before, I'm Faye. I'm the community manager here at Tribe 29. And this is our community call where we try to make it more regular and we discuss topics around Checkmk. We share product updates with the community. And for today, we have Ulrich from the dev team who's going to be talking about the new AWS Lambda checks that will be released on Checkmk 2.1. So I'm just gonna share some quick reminders before we start our official program. Let me just try sharing my screen. If this, see. Right, so just some reminders. So this call will be recorded and streamed on YouTube. So if you're not comfortable having your face on the video, so feel free to not show to hide your video, not show it. But then if you're comfortable with that, then feel free to do that. We would love to see your beautiful faces. So please keep yourself muted while not talking. We will have an open mic session later after the presentation. So rest assured that you will have your time to talk. So otherwise, feel free to type in your questions in the chat. So on Zoom or if you're on our YouTube stream. So last month or in July, we started running a survey. And we're so thankful for everyone who responded to our survey. We had 213 respondents. And you guys might remember that we have a raffle for that survey. So we had two winners for the survey. So I'm not sure if they're here today, but we have Franz and Timo. We already contacted them. So congratulations. I've already emailed you your prize and your prizes will be on the way to you soon. And some more updates from us at the marketing team. So we will be having the English version of the Checkmk tutorials coming soon. So we have the next season of the Checkmk tutorials with Matthias, and there's an English version of the currently German videos that we have with someone new. So someone will be the new face of our English video. So stay tuned on who will that be. Right. So I think that's all from my side. So Ulrich, are you ready? I will now pass the mic to you.
Okay, thank you, Faye. Then I will start my screen sharing. You need to stop yours first. Okay, then let's start. Okay. You should see now my pictures that I will present to you. And I assume that you already worked with AWS Lambda checks, as the Lambda checks are just an extension. If not, you can find the documentation how to configure your AWS Lambda with this link, just monitoring AWS. It's a pretty good documentation. And what you basically need to do, you need to add a host. Just make sure that it has assigned no IP, because it will just be there to aggregate those services that are discovered by the AWS special agent. And then when you go to the AWS Web Services with 2.1, you will find an additional point, which is our AWS Lambda. By the way, you are free to choose to drink a tequila every time I say Lambda. This will probably be quite often. So Now, which checks do we have for AWS Lambda? We have the concurrency monitoring, we do memory monitoring, and we do the performance monitoring. And now I will guide you through these checks in more details and talk a little about these metrics. When we have questions, you can just type in the chat and we will try to talk about that or maybe discuss this afterwards. So first, giving a short overview about the concurrency metrics. This is just for the recording. If you want, you can dive in a little bit more detail later. But this and the most important metrics regarding concurrency are the concurrent executions. Also, we will talk about the provisioned concurrent executions and the utilization. And when you want to configure the parameters for the Lambda concurrency check, you can here set the limits for this checks. And the first one of those metrics will be the concurrent executions. And you can either monitor this metric in % of the region limit. As you probably know, in AWS Lambda, the concurrent executions are specified as a region limit. You cannot change the limit by Checkmk itself, as it is a monitoring tool. But if you want to change the limit, you have to go to AWS services. And you can specify it in % of the region limit or as absolute number with this checkbox. Same is true for the unreserved concurrent executions. You also have both options. Just make sure that we cannot provide default levels for those two metrics because this is application specific. But if you know your application very good, you can choose those metrics also. Then we have provision concurrency executions. And well, I don't know how much you know about AWS Lambda, but regarding the provisioned concurrency, it's a measure to make Lambdas perform faster. So normally your Lambda functions, they are stateless and they are like a racing car in your garage. If you want to drive, you have to go to your garage, sit in the car, put on the ignition, and then you can drive. And this will happen at every request a Lambda is executed. And the initialization time, it can take quite a while, but you have the option to actually provide a pre-initialized Lambda function. And this is a so-called provisioned Lambda functions. And with Checkmk, you are also now able to monitor those provisioned concurrent functions. And we have the metric provisioned concurrent executions, which actually means how many Lambdas are executed in parallel at a specific point in time. So how many racing cars are racing at the same time. And the provisioned concurrent invocations is just the absolute number. How many executions there have been. This might also have executed sequentially. And important is also if your contingent of provision concurrency is full, the Lambda execution will fall back to the normal Lambda execution, which might result in a decrease of performance because those Lambda functions then need also to be initialized again. And then you will see those spillover invocations, which can be monitored and with this metric. And the best overview how you are performing is the utilization. Here you will get a rough overview how much percentage of your provision concurrency is actually used. And usually if you are in the 80-90%, you're probably good. And if you really use 100%, maybe you want to consider and provide more provision concurrency to make your application perform faster. So we also have a check regarding memory, and this is quite easy. We just have the code size and the memory size of a Lambda. As you probably know, a Lambda function does not have persistent storage. So we cannot monitor the persistent storage. However, what we can monitor is the code size for the Lambda functions themselves. So it may happen during development that you have deployed a lot of versions of your Lambda functions, and they sum up during development lifecycle, and dependent of your application and how many iterations you have, maybe you hit the limit of Amazon. And before this happens, you will get warned by Checkmk also now. And the memory size is just how much memory did your Lambda function use during the execution. This is quite self-explanatory as usual. Then we have performance metrics. One of those typical metrics is the duration. So how long does your execution of the Lambda function take? Post runtime is just a detail. We won't provide this for now. And the iterator age. So you have to know that some metrics are only reported dependent on how you use your Lambda. So there are different invocation methods. So you can, for example, make your Lambda function react because of events, and also in stream-based invocations. And for example, the iterator age is only recorded when you use stream-based invocations. Also important metrics are the invocations and of course the errors. So if for some reason your Lambda function could not work, we will report the errors. And when the Lambda functions are called asynchronously, so you just call them, don't wait for the result, it might happen that because of performance bottlenecks, the event could not be produced, and then it will be put into a dead letter queue. And if this happens, you want to know it, and you can spot this with the metric dead letter errors. Destination delivery failures will also be reported as errors. And throttling is another concept. So when your Lambda functions could not be processed, because all concurrent executions are happening and the pool of free instances is limited, throttling will occur. So the execution of your Lambda function will be postponed, and your users will spot a decrease in performance, and you can monitor this with the throttles metrics. And of course, we will also report the invocations of concurrent provision concurrency and the spillover invocations, like we have seen before. So these are the metrics for the performance. You can, like before, monitor the duration in % of the specified timeout. This is a timeout specified by Amazon. And if you want to change it, you have to do the configuration in the AWS configuration tab. And also, if you know your application, you can specify an absolute timeout and errors. So if there occurs any error, of course, you will be noted, or you will receive a crit by Checkmk. And you can monitor the number of invocations per second or the throttles. And then we have those metrics that will only occur dependent on how you use your Lambda functions. For example, the iterator age and the dead letter errors. You will not always see these metrics. Then the init duration, we talked about that before. It may take some time for your Lambda function to actually run. And if you want to monitor this, you can specify a limit to get notified. And the cold starts in %, this is also an important aspect. So a cold start is a Lambda function that is initialized. And if you want to know that, you can look at the cold starts, and you can prevent cold starts by the means of provision concurrency. And with this, you have the key metrics to monitor the performance of your AWS Lambda functions. And finally, this is a short overview how it looks when you have perceived some errors in your Lambda functions. For example, here we have the Lambda function, my Python test function, in the region EU Central. So you will see a service for each Lambda function in every region that you want to monitor. And in this case, the spillover invocation went to grid. So for some reason, the load was so high that we fall back to unprovisioned concurrency. And another error is, for example, the memory size. As you can see here, we have used a Lambda function which consumed more than 90% of the available memory, and therefore we get a grid, like you wanted from a monitoring system. Yeah, that's actually basically what I want to present you. Those are the checks that we have now with Lambda. And what I'm interested, maybe if you want to share, I would be glad to hear from you how you actually want to use AWS Lambda or in general serverless functions. That's it from me. Thanks for listening.
All right, so we're also ready to accept questions now. Ooh, it's quiet, Ulrich.
Yeah, so
yeah, it means that they agree with everything that you said, and it's great.
do you have any questions regarding Lambda, Faye?
Yeah, how can I set it up? How can I have it? Oh, Mauricio has a question. Is that raising?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. First of all, thank you for the information that you guys provide about the Lambda functionality with the Checkmk. In fact, we are right now trying to move to the AWS with the Checkmk, the latest version, which I think is the 2.0. That's the latest one coming over. And besides the Lambda function, do you guys think that Checkmk might be pointing to a serverless condition to work with the AWS services?
You mean you want to install Checkmk into a AWS Lambda or into a serverless function?
Yes, we are planning to do so probably later on in the future, the next quarter this year. But my question actually is just to know if this if the Checkmk tool we might be available to work as a serverless instead of being installed on a instance as an EC2 or a physical server, whatever, to work with the AWS services as a serverless.
So, well, actually, I will answer in two parts. The first thing, currently, Checkmk is meant to be running 24/7. And this is in the current architecture. So it will not run as a serverless function. You need a server that is running all the time. And this is also what you would expect from a monitoring system. But of course, you can monitor a serverless function. And for this, we have a lot of special agents. And currently, we are beginning with AWS Lambda. But depending on the usage scenario, many more may also come. And so you can, of course, monitor your serverless functions and also your AWS services from the Checkmk server. Even so, it is not installed into AWS itself.
All right.
So maybe you know we are using Boto 3. It's the Python library for talking to AWS. And so we can get all the metrics that are available on CloudWatch and AWS, and we can evaluate them and give you the information.
All right, thank you.
It's great that Thomas, our director of product, is also here. So maybe he can add in more information.
Yeah. So Mauricio, can you explain why you would love to have Checkmk run as serverless? What is your need for this?
Actually, not needed. It was a simple, curious question. It probably was
Okay.
that side, the serverless. We are right now running Checkmk, the version 1.6 on our services.
Mhm.
We are planning to move the instance to the cloud, actually to the AWS on
Mhm.
ACP instances on the different regions to do the
Okay.
monitoring better. But
Okay.
it was actually just a curious question. It probably Checkmk will be converting also as a serverless service.
Okay. Maybe so. We are not using Lambda function to deliver Checkmk through Amazon, but we are actually having a project in flight, which actually will make Checkmk available as an image in the Amazon marketplace. So I think that's something you might look into, because that allows you to very easily create a new instance of Checkmk in your whatever data center you prefer and do all the monitoring from that place. The reason, or we don't think Lambda functions a very good example or a very good functionality for us, because the Lambda functions are really mostly externally triggered, and Checkmk, for a lot of reasons, is very often very actively doing things. As an example, we basically reach out to a variety of infrastructure and ping them basically to get the data. So we ping the agent, they send the data, and we do it on a regular basis. So we are really sure that basically the infrastructure is running. We do the same for SNMP, because those devices are not actively coming to us. We need to basically pull information from them. Again, that requires something running actively, not just waiting for data. And also our customers are running Checkmk, for example, running the dashboards and in their SOC, and just to see whether everything is running and in good health. So that's another example where you basically need to be like by design a more active part. If in the future we at one point select Lambda functions, for example, to address certain needs of whatever we do, that's something we might consider, but that's more technical question. So, but by definition, we think we need an active application, not just Lambda functions, and therefore basically Checkmk remains in the current architecture. But as mentioned before, you can get it next year from the marketplace in Amazon. So just
That sounds
instantiate your version, apply the license if you have one, and get going.
All right, thank you so much for the explanation. That sounds pretty wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Are there any other questions? We can also talk about other things if you have questions on the roadmap, especially since we have the right people in the room right now.
I shouldn't have enabled the camera.
Uh-oh.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, so and I would really know how you want to use the cloud or cloud services and what you would expect from a monitoring tool. It's quite interesting having that you may give an impression to us.
Mauricio, just following up your question, as you want to move Checkmk to different Amazon data centers, are you monitoring from Amazon some on-premise infrastructure, or are you monitoring from Amazon some other infrastructure on Amazon?
We are right now on premise monitoring multiple servers on our infrastructure, but we are planning move most of those servers and infrastructure to the AWS, and also we're including the Checkmk to do so.
Okay, so it's kind of a lift and shift approach where you move all your servers over, including the monitoring server, and of course you want to keep up more monitoring still running as you have it today, and the visibility into your infrastructure.
Yeah, we are working right now on that project. In fact, we are trying to figure out how to deploy another Checkmk server in case one of the servers running on the availability zones gets down or something to continue the monitoring system. We might be able to do so, but we're still trying to check how to move not only the server, but all the database inside the server, because it's not kind of easy, but we're still working on that.
Okay. So we already have a bunch of customers running some Checkmk instances in the cloud and monitoring that one. What we do is as part of our project is, first of all, making the Checkmk application out of the box ready and secure, so that you can run it in Amazon. Also, if it's exposed to the internet, so that depends on how you set up your VPCs. And second, what we also add is the ability for monitored servers to actually push the data. So currently, Checkmk triggers the server and pulls that information. And we want to basically add an additional mode, which is called the push agent, where actually the agent sends, like in a weekly cadence, in a minutely cadence or bi-minutely cadence, sends the data to the Checkmk server, which is easier to set up because you don't need to open up any firewalls for somebody externally to basically to reach your server. So that's the two components or the two major components of our cloud-ready Checkmk.
All right.
But if you do lift and shift, there's a bunch of customers that are doing it already, because when you don't have all those problems, you're in the same VPC, and as you can monitor all your virtual servers if they were in the same data center.
Perfect. Thank you, Thomas, for the explanation.
Okay.
Any other question? We're just gonna give a shout out to Norm, saying hi on our YouTube live stream. Hey, Robin, do you want to ask something? I think Robin is trying to speak. Hey, Ulrich, so if someone wants to talk to you about like the specifics of how they use AWS Lambda, how can they get in touch with you? Anyone here want to talk about it further, maybe after the community call?
Well, sure. So either the best thing would probably afterwards to have it right afterwards, a direct talk, or asking in the forum. And I don't know, do we provide our email addresses to the public also? If so, of course, you can reach me, or ask Faye and she will direct those questions also.
Right. So I think your profile on the forum is public, so they can search for you there as well.
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to hear from you. And I just want to get in touch and know how you want to use AWS services or cloud services in general.
Right. Robin, you can type your question if your mic seems to be shy.
Yeah, I'm gonna try one
Oh,
more.
yes,
Can you hear me
it's
now?
working.
Yes.
It's working. It's perfect.
All right. Yeah, the question is not directed at AWS or the public cloud infrastructures, but at vSphere, if that's okay.
Well, you can ask and I try my best if I know something. If not, I will delay to the colleagues and get to you later.
Yeah, sure. So this just popped up today, I think. We were curious if it is or will be possible to access vSphere tags from Checkmk, because we have a use case where we want to exclude some VMs from the monitoring, for example, templates and so on and so forth. And just renaming the VMs is not an option, which would typically be my idea to do that. And then our vSphere admin asked me whether we can access those vSphere tags, because then he could easily just set a tag like monitoring yes, no, and we could access that from Checkmk and then build the rules based on that.
So if you could access those tags from Checkmk, what can you do with the tags added? Is it a substitute for the host name, or is it added? And what use case do you exactly want to do then?
The use case would be to configure how the VMs are interpreted. So you can monitor your VMs through a vCenter, and it goes into a warning state if the VM is part of and something like that. So we have some VMs that we want to be powered off, and we want to get an alert if they get powered on. And typically, I would do that by naming the VM in a certain meta, so my rule set can match on that name, and then the rules apply to the VMs differently. But we now have a customer that doesn't want to do that. And then the idea was from the vSphere admin to use the vSphere tags and just have a tag that says monitoring yes or no, or yeah, something like that. So we can access from Checkmk this meta information to configure how the VM state is interpreted.
Okay, so you want to use the tags as a grouping mechanism. Renaming the VMs in your case is not possible. And it's a method of aggregating, when I understood you correctly.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know right now, but my question would be if the general grouping mechanisms of Checkmk cannot apply in this case, if you have tried, or if this might also be the solution. We just need to tell you how to do that.
I'm not sure if I get exactly what you mean, but if you mean to use some kind of host group or even labels in Checkmk where I could say, all right, this VMs have to be interpreted differently, we could do that, but that's kind of a manual approach. And the customer would always have to tell us if he creates a new VM, whether or how it should be monitored. So the easy thing or the most convenient thing would be if that can be configured in the vCenter and the customer or the colleagues working with vSphere don't have to bother talking to us or giving us that information. So it just gets transferred automatically. So
you mean basically based on a certain tag or so, some VMs will completely be ignored. So we just
exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that. We can ask that question internally. We have some ESX experts, and maybe you drop your email address in a private chat to me, and I follow up with you on that one, if that's possible.
Sure. Yeah, of course, I will do that.
Okay.
Sounds good to me. Thanks.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thanks for providing your use case. We're keen on hearing more from you.
Okay, is there any more questions? So it's great that we're in a small group this time and everyone can have their specific questions. A great chance. Right, so I think if that's all, so I think if you guys want to get in touch with Ulrich about your use case and using AWS Lambda, so you can message him via Zoom, I believe. You can send a private message to drop your email. Otherwise, you can search for him on the forum, or maybe I can drop the link to his profile so that you have it already. So just check it. Yeah, here's how you can get in touch so you can talk more about your use case. And yes, I think that's all for today. So let's see if there's any more questions. Yeah. Okay, then. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Ulrich for talking about our new AWS Lambda checks. And yes, so if there's any more follow-up questions, just leave some comments, post in the forum, just get in touch. So we'll try to address them as soon as we can. All right, then. Have a great evening, everyone.
Good evening. Bye.
Same for you. Bye then.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.